Welcome to the Money Focus Podcast. I'm your host, Moses the Mentor. Today I have a special guest. His name is Ed Salako, and he's the founder of Sciencer, which is a company at the forefront of business operating systems with a focus on CRM and business strategies. Ed's experience is shaping the future of enterprise technology. I'm looking forward to discussing his journey and also his insights into business optimization. So let's get started.
Thank you, sir. And essentially the career journey, we met on a work basis, but it was a matter of us, you representing the business, me representing the tools in order to enable your business objectives. That's always been, as a kid, that's always even been my desire to tinker and share, piece something apart, put it back together. Let's go in the yard and play with that. And that's translated into a career where we're leveraging technology for the greater good, right? I call it a technologist Hippocratic oath. And we're supposed to be using these tools and methods to do the right thing for people. Or, at worst, we've made somebody's life easier. That's, in a very small nutshell, kind of what brings me to this sort of work, this industry, what drives me.
What challenges did you face early on when you started?
Oh, wow. No shortage of knowledge gaps. There's knowledge gaps, and then there's agency. And meaning, especially in this day and age, the barrier of entry to starting a business, even in the last 20 years, I heard a study quoted 20, 30 years ago, the average cost of starting a business was like 50 grand. Don't quote me on these stats, but it was something significant. Today, the barrier of entry is low, right? If you've got a phone, you're paying for some type of data or internet service, you've got a good idea, a few subscriptions to edit some software, to film, right, to post some social media channels, and you got a real functional business. Some of my challenges were the knowledge gaps. First, you don't know what you don't know necessarily. How to keep track of your receipts, write-offs, the typical thing. But just organizing the right tools for what it is that you want to do. And then ultimately agency. What prevented me from putting more work in, more effective work, or being able to scale earlier on? Some of the biggest challenges, knowing what you want to do, knowing yourself enough to get started and make some of those steps happen. But the way I kind of backed my way into starting this business was really to organize some of the things that I was already doing. Sciencer technology and Sciencer is, as I'm kind of trying to make a verb out of the word science, is the application of technologies in a scientific way, right? So we approach technology, we look at it as the application of technology as we would a scientific method. CRM is the core of it. I should say CRM is the enterprise platform core of some of the services. So you have a business, you need to keep track of your customers, your clients, and you need to make sure that relationship between you and your clients is managed as effectively as possible. CRM, customer relationship management. There are big players in that space. We'll be running another survey soon out on LinkedIn talking about, tell us what type of CRM platform you're using. There's about 10 popular, semi-popular ones if you're into that stuff, but essentially CRM and adjacent platforms, which today may be cybersecurity platforms, integration platforms. How do we get one platform to talk to another? Because your business is doing more than one thing. You may need to have a website, talk to a scheduler to get your team members, sales members out in the field, logistical, blah, 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 right? So Sciencer is what we refer to as business operating systems, and we are business enablement. Salesforce is a CRM platform. What is it? How do you use it? How can it help your business meet its objectives? Microsoft Dynamics similarly. And then a series of adjacent platforms around it. You can see the whole list at sciencertm.com. Sciencer, TM is in technologymethods.com. IT solutions, consultancy, maybe those would have been more concise terms. Growing Sciencer was in part a leap of faith, but so was giving myself permission to stop for a second and make sure I was ready to scale a small business into a bigger one. And what I mean by that was that I had other motivations to form Science. When it was finally time to make the leap, I wasn't exactly clear on, okay, Science is going to pay my bills, right, for the foreseeable future. But I was clear on, I was ready to take a larger bet on myself and my ability to create something, participate in the marketplace, help bring value to organizations beyond just the one that I had a working relationship with. So how did I feel? It's liberating. It was exciting. It was daunting. It was scary. It's the term I've used a lot this past year. It's been disorienting, but that's all a part of what the journey, as I'm told, the journey and is what I've observed from folks who have done this. It's all part of what the process is. I've rediscovered parts of myself that I've tuned down in order to fit in a more standard corporate environment. Like the way we show up at work, sometimes we called it sort of shrinking a bit.
Let's talk a little bit more about the world of CRM and business strategy.
Sure.
So the first question I have is, how do you see CRM platforms evolving in the future?
Yeah, wow. Good question, right? All of us would, as a consultant, you kind of show up, you want to be able to act like you can predict the future. And sometimes you do pattern recognition, you look back in order to describe what you think is going to happen in the future. But we talk in terms of business operating systems, right? Again, that's the science or way of looking at technology or enterprise platforms. And the best tech is invisible. The best applications and deployments of technology are invisible. So in other words, you get in your car, you don't think about the engine. You think about the radio and what song, or you think about whether your car looks nice. That's a good application of technology. So when it just works, that's what we're after. So to answer your question, our business operating systems will do more parts of your business, and it won't need any funny names. CRM, it won't need cloud platform, it won't need multi-factor authentication, it won't need those terms and funny stuff like that. It'll just work. So you may gesture, right, on the new Meta glasses. You might nod your head this way or that way, and you'll ask it questions. So natural language interfacing. And right today, hey Alexa, hey Siri. Remember when you had to sit in front of your desktop computer in a special place in order to interface with the internet? It'll be more of this type of natural, like humans like to stop, talk, look, emote in ways, body language. And the future of business operating systems or technology or platforms are tracking along with that. We think of CRM, for example, sales, service, marketing. You won't have to think about it in those boxes. It'll do more for you. Health IT, finance, HR, logistical planning. These platforms will be able to handle or support your objectives in those different parts of the business. Today, CRM only goes there. CRM platforms only go to these other places, HR, logistics things, if you customize them to do that. In the future, there's one solution, GPT, for example, and it'll just be able to help you achieve your objectives. We call them now more assistants, co-pilots and things, right? Microsoft has a co-pilot in the browser. Google has an assistant, right? There's Siri. If you ever watch Star Trek, especially the Next Generation series, the way they interacted with their computer, hey, computer, X, Y, and Z. Everywhere they went,
Wow.
they just say computer. And that's how it will work with them side by side. Up until the point they said, hey, the computer's inside a humanoid android robot. Maybe that's coming, right? Maybe those are the employees of the future. But that is essentially on this current trajectory, that is the future of what enterprise or business platforms will do. But if we look at the trajectory of hardware, intelligent hardware technology, humanoid robots, like Tesla's got theirs, Boston Dynamics is another company, they've got the dog. New York City just deployed with the robot dogs. If we look at what some of these sectors are working on, and then we think about what we have in our pockets with these assistants. And then, if you've heard of AGI, artificial general intelligence, the confluence or the cross section of those different things, 2030 is supposed to be a pivotal time to where you're looking for a job, you're competing with other people now. You may be competing with some type of android for a job. But right around 2030, it used to be called a singularity. Now they're using the term AGI, of when machines/technology get to a point where they can perform beyond what humans have had a lock on up until this time. Right? Work functions. I think the Tesla robot now can fold a garment. It's got that type of fine touch motor skill. Maybe it frees us up to spend more time on the beach or spend more time with our families. Is required irrespective of whether we're thinking about AI or whether we're thinking about, the weather. It's always that adaptation piece. And especially attempting to, I come from a family where at least the women, the smarter part of the family, they've always been entrepreneurs, and that's, inspired me. But if nothing else, I've watched the single thread that has enabled them was that they adapted over time. Just expect the unexpected. And they knew that they could adapt, and therefore they did.
How does your approach differ from conventional business strategies?
Good question. So we have to be careful about these, right? Like everyone thinks they're different and better until they're not, right? But I would say a differentiator is we take a non-for-profit kind of sensibility, a serve the greater good sensibility to leveraging technology for everyone. So what does that mean, right? So business operating systems, we have a particular expertise in enterprise level CRM platforms, right? But there's those adjacent complementary platforms that comprise a better solution for your overall business. So first, we need to partner to discover and then unlock what you need. And that means we can provide a combination of platforms and business disciplines and methodologies that are unique to your business needs. Usually there's a shop that does Salesforce, or there's a shop that does Microsoft Dynamics. We can do either. And I've worked with companies that had both. Actually, three companies that had both. And we would think that's an unusual combination, but it's more common than normal. And what I've been fortunate to be able to do is move fluidly between, have a certain level of proficiency with both platforms. And I think, yeah, that's got to be at the top of the list of the differentiators, the level of expertise in competing major CRM platforms. But the sensibility, again, is that we look at this as how can we do the right thing and partner the right way versus how much can we make from this engagement being first. I wanted to start to tangent and share why they ended up with two major CRM platforms. Consider you stand up one platform, you had the people in place and the business objectives in place of 5 or even 10 years ago. Someone came in, said, here's the objective, and someone else said, here's the right tool for it. And they agreed, that's your implementation. You've got Microsoft Dynamics. As things progress, maybe those people are gone and new people come in and they're more familiar with Salesforce. And to heighten their likelihood of success, they say, we're going to implement Salesforce. Actually, you and I had encountered that in the previous life. And then separately, there's companies who onboarded these platforms and they didn't really know what they did. Someone savvy enough came in and sold them what they wanted to sell them, not necessarily what the company needed, and the platform fit their objective. Those are at least two case scenarios as to why they end up with that type of redundancy, technical debt, and very expensive platforms that are being underutilized. And so I've been thankful that what I've been given as far as my technology or business rearing, I'm able to go in, either help unlock some untapped use of these platforms. Heck, let's make them talk. Let's make a custom solution with them, doing their thing together. And then let's transition one off the legacy, the older platform, and transition all the functions onto the new one, if possible.
I can only imagine probably a lot of overselling going on in that industry. So I'm sure you do a lot of cleanup. So it kind of leads me to my next question. What's like the most innovative project you've worked on at your company?
One of the first ones, let's go all the way back. This is almost a decade ago. And we implemented what was a STEM basis for a STEM curriculum. And this would have given, actually, it did give both of the schools the framework for pursuing a state STEM certification. Now, the STEM certified schools all over the place at the time, there was only one in the state of Georgia. A little bit of a tangent. We look at the Southeast, or the South is having poor performing schools, blah, 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 blah. Some of those stats are nuanced because the state of Georgia was actually progressive in forming a state STEM certification. They had it in anticipation of where they wanted to help inspire their schools to do. And that was for across the country. That was fairly progressive. With that said, the project centered around Computer Science Education Week, and that happens globally, first or second week in December every year. So we were able to do an implementation at a couple of schools, one here at Fulton, then a couple of years later, a school in DeKalb. There was no red tape, no money down, no, you have to go get a new budget. You got to go get this voted on at the school board level. We started and finished this implementation with what we had. It was a public-private partnership. Stood up a couple of websites, stood up some surveys, which helped as a data collection tool for the teachers. I think a big part of the innovation was reimagining what a classroom and self-taught, or let's say self-organized teams, making the students a self-organized entity to help drive and pace their own learning. So Hour of Code is basically where a kid can log on and get an hour of code, basic coding at their level for at least a year. And then Hour of Code is a not-for-profit that tracks all of this. And the objective is to get kids exposed to this coding, and that's supposed to be better for the world and the industry down the line. We can talk about how that's turned out as far as driving wages down in tech. That's another discussion. But the point is that Sciencer really launched that May on paper. It launched, and we were able to conceptualize this program and deliver it within a month. We started right around the beginning of November, and we delivered it on time in December. We collected data. We presented that to school governance council. And next year, the school was able to get funding to buy a bunch of tablets and other things in order for them to start marching towards getting state STEM certified. Really, really thankful to have gotten a chance to do that. We got people from local companies. We got volunteers from the local community. The teachers participated from an observatory standpoint. So that created some objectivity with the program. And especially the kids who had the most education challenges, their engagement numbers had increased over and above all of the other students because they were coming from a place of low engagement in the standard model, education model they were in. And therefore, they had the largest opportunity for growth, and they did have the biggest improvement in engagement. Still very thankful that we were able to help do that. That's got to be the most innovative and relatively low tech solution that science has participated in. We're with a technology partner now, College Match Pros. Would love for them to come on your program because what they're doing in education is very tech forward and it's solving a major gap. So Lawrence and the team at College Match Pros, they're using, amongst other things, they're using virtual reality, and they are basically bringing college tours to the students where they are. So we've had a chance to come in and do some basic, more on the business consulting side. They pretty much had their tech stack where they needed it.
Let's talk about some a little more personal. There's not a lot of Black males in the technology sector that are leaders the way that you've been in your career and now having a business. Can you share how that's impacted you and or might have influenced you, or maybe you've inspired others to actually follow your lead? You could talk a little bit about that.
Look, we know that what we refer to corporate America, they're still not used to seeing people that look and sound like us. And as their first choice of being a subject matter expert. They're not used to that. And that's not to be looked at as a problem with other people, right? They know what they know, and just like us, right? We don't know what we don't know. When I mentor or have these discussions with colleagues, peers, etc., we talk about the requirement of a lot of patience, perseverance. If the goal is to improve our rankings in these places, patience and perseverance are going to be key. So I've mitigated some of what the unpleasant feelings, being looked at as different or being overlooked. I focus on what I can do for self and others outside of the job or corporate. And what does that mean, right? Like I volunteer a lot, and I share the little that I may know about technology with folks that can benefit from it. Each one teach one, imparting those cliches or wisdoms, words of wisdoms that we were given by people who were going through their version of these type of things that look like inequities, etc. Right? When you feel that your company or job or title is the main place that you can be valued, then you might get caught up. So, again, I encourage knowledge of self, recognize and maintain your value internally first. Then that helps migrate into other environments. Was I helping use technology in a way that was going to help them do business or hit their objectives? And so at that point, it didn't matter if I was getting treated other ways in other places. Don't get me wrong, I have no shortage of stories of people asking me a question, saying, okay, walking across the hall and asking the question to someone else that didn't look like me. When I trained that person would say, hey, Edwin is a subject matter expert, ask him, or they would give the answer. It would be the exact same answer that I gave them in the first place. And so patience and perseverance and knowledge of self and giving what you've been given, it helps keep your value in such a way where when you might be overlooked or misunderstood, it won't knock you off your square.
Final thoughts from you or advice that you would like to share with the audience?
Be reminded that we're riding a wave of life, right? We're all somebody's son or daughter, right? Going through life, we're riding a wave. Sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down, right? There's going to be calm waters, choppy waters along the way, but knowing you're built to ride this wave is important. So back to sense of self, knowledge of self being key. You know, yeah, scientists there, been working along with scientists for years, worked for corporations, but was able to take some time to reconnect with self this past year. That included a sabbatical. So for the entrepreneurs, the investors, the parents, people, the brothers and sisters, know that you got to put yourself first. That doesn't mean selfish, ignore other people. It means sound mind, sound body, sound spirit, knowing yourself as the key to position you for your business success. Dollar in your bank account, you could have every skill, every credential, every relationship. You don't have a grounded, good sense of self or your health. The story that Dick Gregory would tell is that Steve Jobs, he would talk about, Steve Jobs had $4 billion in his checking account near his death. He had $4 billion in his checking account. How much of that would have been worth another day? So yeah, that balance, that starting with the grounded self is key. So, as well, what you put together, you and your family, Moses, is so powerful and inspiring. You're providing us a real example of how to do for self by being in service to others. So salute to you, man. Continued success. Really do appreciate you bringing me on to chat a bit.
So I want to thank Ed again for sharing his expertise and experiences with my audience. Your insights are invaluable to anyone that's navigating the business technology landscape. So to my listeners, please remember to visit mosesthementor.com and don't forget to subscribe to Moses the Mentor on YouTube for more episodes like this. So until next time, keep focusing on your financial growth and success. And I really appreciate you listening in. Peace.